sort of bewildered homeless bumpkin.
I must say, the lines make you look less like alcoholic hobo, so I'm kind of excited by that. The one question I do have is, can you hear my fan?
No.
Thank the gods, because the problem is it's about 34, 35 degrees here.
Mm-hmm.
It is hot as balls, and I'm sitting in a garage, and...
No stress, brother. No stress. As I'll say, I've got my window open, so you might occasionally get... Hopefully the sound of the cicadas doesn't come through, but anyway, we'll make it work.
Why is that? That's so weird.
Are we all good?
It's just weird because I've got... So if I open anything on the left-hand side where the Streamlabs is, it all of a sudden cuts your video.
That's weird.
Even though I've got Discord set up as this is where... I've got the, Streamlabs set up, so I'm like...
Just take from Discord, yeah.
Just
like
Discord.
Yeah.
But for some reason you put anything in front of it and it just goes...
Oh, that's strange.
I'm like, thanks for nothing, guys. Streamlabs.
Streamlabs, honestly. That's an entire season on its own,
that would be an episode of just us whinging for about 7 hours.
Oh, God, it would be. And, well, that's the worst bit. So...
Dorks Down Under.
Anyway, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Season 3, Episode 4 of Dorks Down Under, podcast where we discuss everything dork related. And this week we're going to be discussing Aquaman, because I actually got to watch it.
Yay! Normally
I found a little bit of time, got to watch it, so it's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom we are going to be discussing today. But apart from that, I want to introduce my very special co-host, Des Maggs, all the way over in Australia.
Who actually asked him to watch something and he did it. Yay!
I do listen to you on occasion.
When there was the One Piece, you were like, "Yeah, I've seen it. I've missed the last 3 episodes." I'm like, "They're like the most important." So note to self: get him to watch movies only.
To be fair, when I mentioned it to Elle last week, she went, "Actually, I want to watch it. Can we watch it together?" And I was like, "Oh, so I'm going to have to watch it now," sort of thing. So, but then it was like finding a time to watch it with the wife, which is, honestly, because me watching it, I can watch it on my, during at work, on my lunch hour and stuff. I could make it work. But yeah, but trying to then find a 2-hour slot for me and the wife to watch it was damn near impossible. But anyway, we got to watch it on a Friday.
Yes.
Thursday? No, Friday night we watched it.
Something.
So I think it was a bit of a miserable night, so we just ended up putting it on and just enjoyed it. So before we get to that, though, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who likes, shares, and subscribes to the podcast and comments. We see all your interactions. Thank you very much. Please make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. It does help with all the algorithms. And you can find our beautiful faces. You're available to watch it on all good podcast forums, as well as seeing us visually on our YouTube channel and on Spotify at Dorks Down Under. Thank you very much.
And screw you if you don't. No, I'm joking. No.
Okay.
We don't have that many listeners to be able to bastardise half of them.
Not.
Let's not.
Now, right, we're going to put it out. Let's get rid of the negative shit out of the way first, right? Let's get rid of the negative shit out of the way, okay? The mega negative I have of this movie is a certain actress who still features quite heavily in it.
Yes.
The worst thing is you could tell how much she was written into the story initially because the editing job that they've cut her out of is so clunky.
There were some bits, like when they said they edited her out because some of the scenes didn't make sense, or there was... Because they came out and said Amber Heard has been heavily edited out of this film because of the connection between the two wasn't great, and the storyline, some of those scenes were thingo. And I'm like, Not to mention a certain case, a certain court trial that may not have gone in her favour. Yes.
Sort of thing as well. So there was that as well.
But that being said, I completely agree with you. There were bits where obviously she had to be in it. And then when they didn't, they literally You never seen those things on thingos where a girl posts a photo or a guy posts a photo of himself and he gives himself big muscles and then all the outside around it is all distorted because he's just grabbed the warp tool and pulled up, so it's warped. That is pretty much what they've done with this. Like, when they've cut her out of it, like, they have gone, we need to leave her in scenes that are, like, 100% needs to be, but the ones that they've cut her out of, and even the ones that she had to be in, they literally got her to say her lines where they needed to, and then they just, like, photoshopped her out.
Yeah,
like, it was horrific.
I wasn't a fan of it. Obviously, I understand. Because let's be honest, right? We both do editing. It is possibly the most painful part of the entire process.
Yes.
You know, God forbid, especially when you're doing, like, oh God, back in the days where I used to do my vlog videos for Magic. Oh my God, having to bring together, you know, potentially 50 videos and clip it, edit it, transition style, you know, it is a pain in the backside. And then there's, you know, what do you have as background, what you're not having as background. You know, it is painful. So the fact is, I do feel for them.
Yes.
There was going to be no good way they could get her out of this movie, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, she and even in it, what was weird, though, is there were some pivotal parts in it where I thought was quite good in it, surprisingly. As we said, not a big fan of her and obviously everything that she has done. But there were bits in it. We'll skip over that. But there were bits where, like, she did kind of need to be in it, and there were lots of bits where, like, little bits where she was actually in it that were actually quite good. But the funny thing was that, yeah, it was just. It was handled very poorly. Put out, the theatrical release is not a good edit. I would be interested, personally, if there was, like, a director's cut version of this is how it was meant to be. And then I could watch that and go, no, this isn't better. And at least then it's like, fine, you did the best you can. But if it is better, it's like the director's cut of Aliens. Yes.
It's far superior than the theatrical release of Aliens.
Yes.
Sort of thing.
Justice League is another one.
Justice League as well. The fact is that got such a bad response, and then when people, you know, when it got announced by the director saying, that's not the movie I made, the movie I made is completely different, and then there was absolute uproar and demand. We got that movie, and it was better, and the fact is that Sony then realised, because DVD sales went through the roof, they were like, crap, maybe we should release that cut. And it's like, oh, you think?
But there is a big difference. Like, obviously, with Fantastic Beasts, Johnny Depp was in that to the end of that. They ended up cutting him prior to it being filmed. I do think there needed to be, or should have at least been something where they're like, listen, bro, it should have been, obviously this was filmed before her, obviously because it's of quite heavy because of it requiring heavy editing due to the fact that everyone's underwater. We had already started that. There's no way of removing her from this film.
Yeah.
I probably would have been like, cool, that's fine. But the fact is, it does look like they've kind of like, when they've edited her out.
I would be interested to see, you know, the director's cut of this and see what it was actually meant to be like and see if it's actually any better. So anyway, that is possibly the biggest negative that we're going to take. Well done. We've got through this. We haven't lost our minds. And we're going to park it over there.
Yeah. Park it over there on the bed with the poop.
We're going to park it over there on the bed. Now, I want to discuss... Obviously, after all that negativity, I want to discuss what is possibly the best character of this entire goddamn movie.
Dolph Lundgren.
It makes the movie.
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. No.
I just like Dolph Lundgren.
Oh, yeah,
he's not by far the best, but he's Dolph Lundgren.
We all like him. The best character of this movie, that makes this movie, quite frankly, is Topo, the cephalopod.
Yes.
Okay? Honest to God, right? This movie... right, I'll tell you now, overall, as the movie is, I didn't enjoy it. And it's only because, one, there was the editing bit and all that jazz. The storyline is very... Let's be honest, it is basically the director played a lot of Wrath of the Lich King from World of Warcraft, because that is basically the storyline of this entire goddamn movie.
Yes. But
instead of it being a crown, it's a scepter. That is, a trident. That is the only difference.
See, I didn't completely hate the story as much as what a lot of people did. I was like, okay, I can kind of understand that. The thing that killed me, though, was just... And it sounds bad, but I had the same complaint about Fast X, was I get that actors are becoming larger than life. They've got this social media prominent. We're doing that. But, like, for example, Black Adam. Any film that The Rock is in, because he has surpassed whatever character he plays, it is, this is The Rock. Happened in Jungle Cruise, in whatchamacallit, in Jumanji, you know it's The Rock. It feels like The Rock. And because you don't necessarily have like a character, you're like, cool. With Black Adam, obviously Black Adam has this massive history and it felt like that, but it still feels like The Rock. And Jason Momoa felt the same. In the first Aquaman, he was quite stoic, he was quite strong, he seemed like he was good. He got a little bit of comedy elements in Josh Whedon, which I didn't actually like in his cut, but it wasn't quite as much there. And I feel like in this one, he was more jokey. And the same with Fast Five. Fast Five, that villain was set up to be brilliant. A little bit psychotic, a little bit crazy, but he plays it too much as Jason Momoa. The character doesn't seem to be there. It just seems to be, this is the actor. And some of these actors that get really big, and I think that's, The Rock is one of them, Jason Momoa is another one, Vin Diesel in certain elements. There's certain ones that I don't mind him as, but not quite as much because he doesn't show as much of his personal life. But I tend to find the ones that show a lot of their personal life, it does, I don't know, like for me, he seemed like I'm stoic, I'm brave, I'm trying to figure out my stuff, to now him being a bit of a class clown. And that was the thing that killed me in Fast X, and that makes me not look forward to Fast 11. And it also, in this film too, I just felt like he just, like I know you can develop the character, but he seemed more goofy, more comic relief, and I'm like,
Well, we already know my opinion on the Fast movies. The Fast movies should have stopped at 2, quite frankly, and that should have been
What?
it.
What about Tokyo Drift?
Oh god, Tokyo Drift's the worst.
Too fast, too furious.
But right, okay, I do kind of get what you say. The fact is, I actually quite liked when they cast him as Aquaman. I was like, okay, because obviously, traditionally, most of the time, in all the comic adaptations and all the even the animated versions, he's always been sort of white blonde, sort of that general character. So when obviously, we've cast Jason Momoa, I was like, interesting. But of course, then there's all that heritage of being Polynesian and all that, and I'm like, okay, I don't hate it.
Yeah, see, I actually quite like that because the Hawaiians.
I thought that could work. And then obviously we obviously got Boba Fett as dad, even better. Thank God.
and I like that they kept that because obviously for like Hawaiians or a lot of the Polynesians, they're all water people. They're used to being on the water. So for that, as soon as they announced him, I'm like, that is sick. I'm like, as long as they give him like long hair and they make him look Polynesian, I'm all for that. And then obviously when they cast Cookmas Mags as the father, I'm like, perfect, that ties it in. Giving him a blonde mother kind of also gives him throwback to that kind of original thing. And I'm like, I kind of didn't hate that. And
can I just say, right, in this movie, why is it Nicole Kidman doesn't look as good as the first one? I mean, don't get me wrong, I know actors age, don't get me wrong, I'm not that stupid. Okay, but the fact is, that Hollywood has all these amazing tips and tricks, right? And this is only set like 1 or 2 years after the fact.
Yes.
So it's like, did we blow all the budget on and not being able to just make some a certain actress who is Nicole Kidman who looks damn good, especially in comparison on the first one. The first one she looks amazing, and the fact that this one is a bit. I was like,
It is also hard too, though, because obviously she's aged well. There has been a lot of scrutiny about them changing actresses, which has just recently happened with. I think there's a politician in Australia, and I think she's a part of the. I think it's like the Animal of Society Party or something like this. Blonde girl with kind of like a sharp bob fringe. She came out wearing like a white kind of like halter neck top and a white skirt. Then Channel 9 took her and literally enlarged the breast, hiked the top up so it showed belly and stuff like that, and used that as one of her thingos. And it's been big news over here because obviously they've gone, what the hell? And she actually came back. She's like, this is the picture that it was. This is what they've done to it. And you have a look and I'm like, she's gone from probably an A to a B to a D. Her belly's showing, so it gives her a thing, and they're like, this is what your politicians look like. I'm like, and I think there is a lot of criticism and trying to keep things that it's not. We're not overdoing things because obviously young kids today are going through hell trying to keep up with all this stuff, and I do think they've just tried to keep her as natural as possible. But unfortunately, she was born in 1967, so.
Oh no! Don't get me wrong. She's a very good-looking lady, and absolutely, But it was just, it's very jarring in comparison to the first movie. Like, if you were to watch the first movie and then immediately watch this, it doesn't seem like it's meant to be like a couple of years time jump. It's,
well,
it looks like there's been a 10-year time jump.
I reckon there's probably a good 5 or 6 years difference between the two, which is.
It depends how you do look at it, but yeah, it could.
Because you think about it, they've Amber Heard and that have. Let's get it on. And then they've had a little baby, and the baby looks like he's about 2 or so. So you kind of
he's quite young. I would say he's between
I believe he's 1 and 2, yeah. But
he's between 1 and 2.
But you got 9 months. You've got this. Obviously, Aurum looks like he's been there quite some time. I don't know. I feel like there's probably a good 4 to 5 years at least between this. And I'm not a big. That bit doesn't really worry me. I think the bit is that our main character feels like it's more jokey, and obviously with Amber Heard disappearing, I thought Black Mamba was an amazing villain, and honestly think.
Hang on, Black Mamba.
Black Mamba. Well, what is it? Black
Manta.
Black Mamba.
Black Manta.
Sorry, I've been watching this show Snakes in the City, and it's this British guy over in New Zealand. And he keeps talking about Black Mamba, and I was like, "Oh man, I know."
Sorry, there's somebody.
One of them, Black Manta. Sorry, David Kane. I'm just going to call him David Kane. I think he was great in it. And,
yes,
and I think
it was very well done, and I like the slight split in personality when he has to be, and that was.
It was very cleverly done, well. And I think that he did an amazing job. And I think that's the first time in DC where we've had a villain that is a strong villain. Like, you think about it, we've spoken about this in the podcast, I think in the first season, where obviously massive fan of Red Skull versus Captain America. And they always seem to have these, Marvel seem to do great villains that seem to be in line with their actual characters. And I feel like DC, they've always felt quite underpowered, a bit blah. And I feel like...
Well, that's always been a bit of my big problem with DC as superheroes, is that you get these really over-the-top superheroes, and they have to take... And the only way for them to be humbled is by this ridiculous level, like God tier, is to knock them down a peg or two. But even then, they still somehow win. It's like, oh, hang on, come on.
Yeah.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. At least One Punch Man, right, takes the absolute nick out of it and says, and the fact is that he's just frustrated that he can't find an enemy that can't survive more than one punch.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So I love that.
And I think that's the thing we need to do, is that there does seem to be this massive push to get the good villains. And I feel like this is the first time that they've seen it. And I would like to see them keep going. I would love to see Aquaman get a trilogy. I would love to see them pull back on some of the things. Like, this is the same complaint that I had a little bit with Thor, where by the third one, he was kind of more of a joke and more comic relief than anything.
Yeah, but personally, I think Tiger got it right for Thor, because the first one was just a bit, and then the second one was even worse. Let's be honest.
The second one was way too dark and a little bit thing, but I think the third one, for me, felt like it just felt a bit too cartoony.
You felt he went a bit too far the opposite way.
and then obviously
I can understand that, but I quite like.
I think the fourth one had a nicer thing to it, where there was still some serious tones. They still had a little bit more jovial bits to it, but I do feel like as well, he kind of got this cult classic for his character, and he kind of milked the shit out of that. Like by the fourth one, I'm like, it was fun comic relief there. It allowed Thor to be able to be a little bit more serious and less thingo. And then by the fourth one, you're like, I'm kind of getting sick of you. Like, I'm glad you got blown up. And then when you survived, I'm like, oh god.
Well, about it in terms of the storyline on this.
Yeah.
I actually have there's one big thing I have an issue with about this storyline as well. Okay, so all right, I can get past magic tridents affecting the mind, blah blah. That's fine. Okay, totally fine with that. Yes, there's a greater evil. Totally fine. Again, absolutely fine. Where I feel like this movie kind of went wrong is it didn't have the throwaway line in it, such as, for example, in the Marvel movies. Like I think it's in the which is it? This is the second Doctor Strange one, I think. No, yeah, it's in the Doctor Strange one where obviously the Stargirl's fallen through. He's met Doctor Strange, and he keeps talking about all these different characters, and she's like, "Wait, you have a Spider-Man? Like, does he shoot web out his butt?" And he's like, "No." And what about Ant-Man? You have an Ant-Man? There's all these throwaway little lines. I.e., we can't contact them, but it's a good way to sort of, they're still there, sort of thing. Because let's be honest, right? Obviously, the storyline is they are ancient Atlantean technology used to greenhouse gas and nearly kill the planet. Fine. Okay, complete. I'm willing to buy it. I'm willing to buy into this. No problem at all. But the fact is that you mean to tell me that this massive greenhouse gas cloud coming out of a volcano in the middle of the Pacific...
Yeah, nobody's noticed it.
Nobody's noticed it. And especially, I don't know, a certain superhero who can fly at practically at the speed of sound.
And he can hear all this stuff and can probably just blow the bloody thing away.
Yeah. The fact is that there's not an offhand comment made by, could you not contact your flying friend? Or something
I think the reason why they tried to set that up that way is the reason why they were saying, like, there's no... We don't want to get the outside world. We don't want to get this. But it is funny because you do go, bro, you have all these superheroes that you've just been a part of for all this time. And now all of a sudden you're like...
I mean, to be fair, Elle did say to me, she was like, well, hang on, how do you know this is set after when he's met them? And I was like, well, okay, I don't, because there's no clear established...
That's the only way that I'm like, that makes more sense.
But even then, Superman's still out there. You mean to tell me that he doesn't know? Or Bruce Wayne, who has all this technology up in the air.
Yeah, couldn't just go, I'm just going to fly my friggin' Batjet, drop my bat
there's
bomb.
There's a volcano spitting out green gas.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, maybe we need to investigate that sort of thing. It just doesn't make... all it needed was a throwaway line like him saying... to that council business, which was a bit weird. I assume, again, if in the unedited version, that probably makes beautiful sort of sense.
Yeah.
But it would have been brilliant to say, well, look, why don't I contact my
X
friends
or Y,
and they can help us out? And they go, no, this is Atlantean business. We do
See,
not
that would make it a lot more sense. I also think that I'm like, bro, this dude's the king of Atlantis. Why does he need a council like that? And why is that council never appeared? B, I wouldn't have made it a giant smoke cloud. I would have made it some form of either lava or some like runoff or something that's causing it to heat up the oceans, which then in turn, rather than having the smoke, because it is like, I'm like, you don't have to be a genius to be like, what's all this thing? And not to mention, it would start turning the atmosphere green as well. So you're like, It was just that was the one bit that irked me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have the same problem right now with the Marvel movies, where no one's mentioned this massive hand and head of a celestial pointing out the ground. So don't worry, Marvel get it too. That it's not just DC not mentioning shit. Yeah.
The fact is that we're just going to pretend that never happened. I think not.
That was the weirdest thing about the Eternals. Like unless they decided to get rid of them or something, but you kind of like, you didn't really tell us anything about that. You just kind of let it sit there.
The current theory of reason why it's not been mentioned by any of the other mainline stories is that happened on a separate timeline. It's in part of the multiverse, so it's on a different timeline. So that's the prevailing.
If they said that,
theory.
I'd be like, I'm actually golden with that.
Yeah, which is fine, absolutely fine. But the fact is that nothing's officially been said. It's the one thing that irks me, because let's be honest, all you would have to do to throw it away, you don't even have to mention what happened. You just have to have Spider-Man swinging through, Times Square, and there's an advert for a travel destination of, oh, come explore the new island, and it could be just a hand of Tiamat. You could have that. It's a throwaway. It will be spotted by some massive nerd.
You'd think so.
and say,
oh
my God, look at this Easter egg. And then you go, oh, there we go. Fine, great. That's it.
Or something about a new island or anything. Yeah. But yeah, I do agree. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Topo was amazing.
He was the bee's knees. He made it.
And I was also a big fan they brought back. Obviously, as I said, I'm always a big fan of Dolph Lundgren coming back just because it was cool. And obviously,
I do want to mention another character in this.
Is it going to be the Brine King?
No. The Brine King was funny though. I did like
where he lost his claw. I'm like, good job, Gimli.
Good job. Yeah, I did like that. But Randall Park, who was in this as Stephen Shin.
Oh yes,
as the scientist. Now I want to mention this because me and Elle both had the first immediate thought when we spotted him as his character before he spoke. Now, this is where we might lose some of the audience here because there is a program. There is an Australian program that's called Travel Guides, okay, and it's basically involves these people and they get to go on holidays and they get to give honest reviews, and it's a bunch of it's all Australians and there's different groups, and there's a group of 3 lads on there, right, who we got introduced to them in like season 2 and we're on like season 7 now, whatever it is. And they used to all live with their mums. They used to all work at Target. They lived that sort of 20s party lifestyle, right? And one of them is called Teng. And literally, we spotted Randall Park because he has the same goatee style thing that he has going on. And I was like, is that Teng? But the second Randall Park spoke, I was like, oh, it's not Teng. But Elwood, I thought it was Teng too.
Okay, I can't say that I've heard it or seen it.
Oh, hang on. You've not watched Travel Guys? It's belter. It's really good.
No.
Honestly, it gives you holiday ideas.
To be fair, though, I don't even have free-to-air television in my house.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have the aerial hooked up. There's no point because we always, 9 times out of 10, if we watch something, it's normally downloaded and it's normally on a terror show. So I don't normally watch TV there. Right, if there's anything on free-to-air that I like, I literally will just download it.
Okay. Right, it would be helpful if I sent you a big image, wouldn't it?
You sent me an image like the size of my peen, tiny.
Yeah, pretty much. Hang on. Right, I'm trying to find a good one that kind of. Okay, there we go. This one works. Hang on. Okay. Right.
Oh my God! It is literally minutes.
He's the one on the far left.
Oh yeah. No, I do see it. You know what's funny too, though? Have you seen the shirt he's wearing? So he sent me a photo of this guy. We'll put it up on chat, and he's wearing a Sea Shepherd T-shirt. Which, for anybody not worrying, it was whatchamacallit. It was Crocodile Hunter's way of saving the sea, and one of their symbols is a trident. So all you see is sea she with a trident on her chest, and I'm like. And I do get what you mean. It is uncanny, to be fair.
You know what I mean? Literally, we saw that, but the second Randall Park spoke, because we love Randall Park as well, the fact that Agent Jimmy, what is he in Marvel? He's Agent Jim something in Marvel. And I was like, yes! That was so good.
Yeah, it is weird to have him, though.
Yeah, but it was interesting. Obviously... We kind of saw it when they kept him alive. I was like, all right, so he's going to be important to the major plot line at some point. And then obviously, he discovers the evil plan.
Yeah.
And everything else. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense, sort of thing. So yeah, it was quite interesting to sort of I found it quite interesting how he did it. Hang on, where is it? He played Jimmy Woo. That's it, Jimmy Woo. I knew it was Jimmy something.
Yeah.
So he plays Jimmy Woo in the FBI agent. He was in Ant-Man and WandaVision and everything else. So yeah, but it was really good. But yeah, so in terms of the side characters, I found that they were more fun to watch.
Yeah.
Also, can I just say, I think it's a very cheap trope, right? That they went down the thing of where obviously Aquaman grew up on the surface, so he's experienced the world. He's experienced. A cheeseburger and having a pint of Pilsner and all that jazz, which is immense, let's be honest.
Yes.
But the fact is that he tricks his brother into eating a cockroach, thinking that that's completely normal. It's cheap. It was such a cheap.
It was, but it was also kind of funny in regards to that because obviously, I do think that you would try to play pranks on your brother, and I think it was trying to bring that brotherly thing home.
Yeah,
I do think
that
you could have edited that out better than you could have. Amber Heard, and yeah, it didn't need to be there. And obviously, there is a throwaway scene at the end where he's biting into said burger, and he's got the beer and the little cockroach things, and he grabs it and puts it in his burger.
There's a cockroach that crawls across the table, so he grabs it and throws it in the burger and makes it crunchy.
Another 8 seconds that didn't need to be there. I guess the whole point of it is that brotherly kind of mucking around and jokingness about it.
Because literally all you have to do, right, is you have the bit in saying you've not experienced having a cheeseburger and a beer and stuff like that. Don't even have the cockroach bit. And then that end cut scene where it's him and he picks up out of a burger, and obviously he pays with a doubloon, which was funny. That was quite funny. Yeah. That she pays with a golden doubloon. And then he bites it and he's like, and it's like, yes, finally. But obviously, I don't know if I like Orm being actually good with his brother, because obviously in the comics he's such, it's one of his big main rivals. So I kind of don't like the buddiness.
It is weird, and I get that they really tried to push that with obviously, what's her name, with Nicole Kidman saying obviously be good to your brother. Obviously, the whole scene at the start about you've only got one brother and this, that, and the other, and I'd prefer the dog and whatnot. And I do get that at the end of the day, I do think overall Orm does want what is best for Atlantis, even if he's a bit closed-minded when it comes to the surface and stuff. So I'm like, I kind of understand that, but it did feel a bit weird. Like I felt like it should have gone back to heads, or he's like, this doesn't change anything, or I still want to be king, or whatever they did. I do think it should have been that, but I guess also they've left it open for just in case they decide they want to bring Aquaman back, but I just don't see it happening. Like I think James Gunn just wants to change everything, and I think he wants to play with the littler characters so that there's less. I honestly think the main reason why he's coming back and doing a lot less well-known DC characters is to test the water on a lower budget, bring that thing down, because I do think you make a Batman film, it's going to be big. It's going to be.
Do you feel that James Gunn is trying to
Guardian of the Galaxy?
He's trying to pull off the Iron Man.
I don't know.
Let's be honest, right? Because obviously Jon Favreau cracked it. Okay, he got that one. He got that. Finally, Marvel got that one movie, just bam, and then next rolls on, and suddenly bam, 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 and then it just builds. Awesome. Because literally, Iron Man cost peanuts to make in comparison. Obviously, the subsequent ones cost a bit more because they realised, now we've got a bit of money behind it.
But
we can actually
they were able
have
to
some
do that
really
because
cool visual effects. So the fact is that I've got a feeling that he needs to pick, you could do. I'm trying to think of a character. The problem is that most of the characters I can think of that I would want to see
are big DC guys.
Very visual effects heavy.
Yeah.
Such as what about John Jones, the Martian Manhunter? He always features very heavily in the Justice League. Very heavily features. Yeah. But again, that's a lot of visual effects that's going to have to go into that.
Well, I mean, there's not as many, because you think about it, there only needs to really be... You could probably do a prosthetic or do some kind of makeup that you tighten up with the visual effects. And the only real visual effects you need is when he changes.
Yes.
I'm guessing. But the problem is, I honestly think... My problem is I feel like James Gunn is trying to Guardians of the Galaxy it, where he wants to use lesser-known characters and have a hit with it, where he's making it for cheap, the budget isn't as big, they're characters that aren't well known, so which means that even if they do okay, they're still going to do quite well. Like if it happens to be like a $300 million film, that's awesome, because he's probably going to make it on 60.
Yeah.
But I do have a feeling that there is going to be this thing where he's trying to use these lesser-known characters to build it up, and it would not surprise me if he's actually going to stay clear of the big guys just because there's too much risk.
Now, personally, I would love to see this. Okay. One DC character I love and adore, that he has had a very big thing lately in the animated versions, which is Constantine. Now, obviously, we've already had a Constantine movie, which was our beloved actor Keanu Reeves.
There is rumours that he's coming back for a second one.
He has been on. He has been. Oh, I think he was interviewed. I think it was on.
Yeah.
I think it was Jimmy Fallon. I think it was, and he got asked the question of: is there a character you would come back and do a sequel movie for that you haven't been asked yet? And he says, "There's one, but I know they won't do it." And he said, "Well, just say it. What's the worst that could happen?"
Yeah.
And he said, "I want to do Constantine." When he said that, I was like, "Please, please."
And I would love to. There is rumours about him also doing, like, you see all this fan art about him doing Ghost Rider, and all these other films that he's coming back to. And I do think that Constantine was a film that was a bit outside of the norm. It wasn't something that was maybe necessarily as well received as obviously the Iron Man, but the good thing about those little characters is you can watch that without realising it's a Marvel or a DC film.
Well, that's
what I think James Gunn is trying to do.
Yeah, the amount of people that I talked to, when I remember watching that, and I was talking, I was saying, yeah, it's great to see another great DC movie, and someone was like, oh, he's a DC movie character. I went, yeah. Then where'd you think he got all this information from? Oh, we thought it was just a good written story. It was like,
yeah.
No. It said he's a comic character. And they're like, oh, okay. The only problem I had with it is that, let's be honest, is Keanu Reeves' version, he doesn't speak British. You know,
that is the one thing that I always found weird.
That is the one thing
I
that
like
was
it.
Kind of the problem. Where's the Cockney puns and everything else?
100%.
That's
because
all I wanted.
In the cartoons, I love the cartoons of John Constantine. He's kind of got the sandy blonde hair. He's kind of this guy that chain smokes. He's got this British accent, and he's brilliant in it. And that's why when part of me, I'm like, as much as I like the character Constantine, and as much as I would love Keanu Reeves, to be fair, Keanu Reeves could do anything. Like, Keanu Reeves could come in as freaking bloody the next Iron Man, and I'd be like, I'm actually alright with that because it's Keanu. But the problem is that I'm like, I kind of want that British guy back. That kind of more gruff, that more kind of like, as you said, Cockney slang kind of guy that's just feels more Constantine.
God, I don't know who I'd cast for him. I wanted a cock. I'd say, because you want someone, he doesn't, you don't need a big buff guy. That's the thing. Immediately people say, oh, you need someone a bit built. No, you don't. The fact is, Constantine is like intelligent as Batman.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about his mind.
Just have Jason Statham with a wing, with a wig. That would be hilarious.
Oh my God.
He's like Hocus Pocus, Megalodon.
Hocus Pocus, bitch.
And then you're just like Megalodon. You're like, wait, what? It's Megalodon. There's only 2 syllables. He's like, no. The one that has been thrown around, which I thought was a bit bizarre, was one of the guys that played the Hobbit, the dude from Lost. What's his name? Dominic something. You know the guy? He was in Lost and he was in the Hobbit.
Oh, I tell you what, I've just looked up, right? Because I was just thinking, right, who would I cast? And I typed in male British actors, you know, under 30. Will Poulter. So he was in We're the Millers. He was in the Chronicles of Narnia and stuff like that. Will Poulter would be good.
Isn't he the dude that plays Adam?
Yeah. He plays Adam Warlock.
Warlock.
That's it. That was the other thing. I was trying to think of what the character was. So he plays Adam Warlock. So he could just jump over it because all the superhero actors jump across, don't they?
Because the guy that I was thinking about was what's his name? Dominic Morgan or something. He was the guy that was. He's not a big dude, but I feel like he's the guy from. I think he was in Lost. He was in Lord of the Rings. Oh, what's his name? Dominic something.
Ooh, could either Tom Felton or Daniel Radcliffe do it? That could be interesting.
Daniel Radcliffe would be a random one, I feel.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit...
Tom Felton, so Draco Malfoy, could be interesting. That could certainly be interesting.
Possible.
Yeah, I'm literally just looking. I'm literally just looking down this list. I'm like, no, yes, no.
Because I don't know, because...
No, we can't have Taron Egerton. Although it would be interesting to see Taron
he's slated
Egerton.
to do Wolverine, so it could be
Taron.
Yeah, that's who they reckon.
Really? I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't
know about him.
But there's him. There's Daniel Radcliffe. There's whole heap of them that could be possibly doing it.
Tom Holland, no. That's just popped up on my list. Definitely not Tom Holland. Too young in my opinion.
The other one that I thought could be good is that dude from Sons of Anarchy. Charlie Hunnam, I think his name is. He was also in... Hang on. I've probably mispronounced his name, and there's probably people screaming at the thingo. But he's English. He is a little bit buff, so he can kind of do that, but he's not ridiculously. And I think give him a nice kind of messy...
Hunnam.
Oh. Like, I'm sending you a picture.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sending you a picture now.
He was also in... wasn't he in The Gentleman as well?
I don't know that. I only know him from Son of Anarchy, and he was in a King Arthur movie from memory.
Yeah, he was in King. He was in The Gentleman. He was. Oh, I'd say if you've not seen The Gentleman yet, sir, you need to get on that. That is a great movie.
Yeah, is that Guy Ritchie again?
Yeah, Guy Ritchie, fabulous, great. Anyway,
because I've sent you a photo of him with short hair, and I feel like just make it a little bit scruffier, and just let him have this. Work. I feel and he's got
to have a clean shaven as well.
He's got some size to him, but he doesn't look overly bulky. I don't know.
Could certainly be an option. That could be interesting.
I feel like if it was like a couple of decades ago, I think like say for example you made this in the 90s, I still feel Jude Law would be amazing for it.
Jude Law could be good.
Like not now.
He's a bit too long. Not now. He's a bit too. I think you needed Jude Law about 20 years ago.
That's what I'm saying. 15, I reckon if you made it in the 90s or the early 2000s, Jude Law would have been great. The other one that I actually think could do an okay job, just because I feel like he's kind of got that kind of same gritty thing, is Jamie Bell.
Jamie Bell?
Yes. He was obviously in Billy Elliot, but he has come a long way since that.
Yeah, you know what? I can see it.
He's got that kind of unusual look about him. He's kind of more slender, where obviously Charlie's a little bit more rounder in the face and looks more manly, where this guy looks...
He was in Fantastic Four.
Oh, he was too.
Yeah. Oh, it was his Jumper. Oh, God, Jumper. Jesus Christ, I remember that.
Yeah, but I feel like he could probably do it as well.
He could. He had to grow his hair out a little bit, but yeah, I mean, certainly.
He's kind of got that kind of almost. It sounds bad, but almost that kind of like chain smoking, kind of like gritty, kind of like thing. But yeah, you mess up his hair a bit, grow it out a little bit, put a little bit like lighten it a bit. But he's kind of got. What does my friend call it? He's like what is it? The strung out on drugs look and smoking cigarettes because he doesn't eat. And I'm like. And that's what my friend calls it. Those actors where they look like they're kind of like they just smoke, they don't eat. They're just like they look strung out as hell. And he's kind of got that feel that Constantine would work.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think Jamie Bell would certainly be an interesting one. Definitely, it certainly could be an interesting one. Yeah. It's amazing how quickly me and you can get off topic. We've gone from rating this movie. We've gone from rating Aquaman to discussing who we want to be the next Constantine.
Well, no, because we're talking about other things. Yes, or we could always go back to an old favourite and just go Martin Freeman.
No, listen,
Mr. Frodo, Mr. Frodo, he's my ring.
Frodo. I do love Martin Freeman, but I don't think Martin Freeman would be the right character.
That would be hilarious. That would be the most the only way you could cast that any worse was if you gave it to like Ray Fiennes or like Idris Elba or something like completely out the deal.
I'll tell you what. Any demon has to face down Idris Elba will run. Let's be honest, he would be terrifying.
Yeah. Can you imagine him coming out, man? I'm like, I could kind of see that. The only other one that I thought could be an outsider, but I think you need a light in his hair, that obviously it's hard because of the character he plays, obviously for Marvel, is Nicholas Hoult. He's got the piercing blue eyes like he's got the piercing blue eyes like Constantine does. Obviously, you'd lighten his hair a bit. He's kind of a bit skinny, a bit gawky, but he kind of has some very good acting prowess that I think he could be quite good. But still, I think Jamie Bell's probably would be one of my top choices. And then Jason Statham with a wig.
The problem I have with Jib, the only problem I have with Nicholas Hoult, right, is that I can't get past him from seeing him in About a Boy. He always has that face.
Yeah, and also the fact that he's Beast.
Even when he was Beast, I was like, oh, it's the kid from About a Boy.
Yeah.
It was just like, he was so small. I was just like, oh, he's now a bit older. You know, I still
think, and my number one choice would have to be, and it would never ever happen, but I think it'd be hilarious, would be Simon Pegg as Constantine.
Oh God,
that would be absolutely brilliant.
Simon Pegg would be great, but that's the multiverse version we need to see, where he's just the jokey version, and doesn't take anything.
And he's just like a magician. He pulls rabbits out of hats and stuff, and uses his power for that. That would just be hilarious.
Pretty much, that would be good.
Yeah, but it is. Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, let's get back to Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, right? Okay, so we've got off to it. Let's get back into it.
Aquaman, I wanted to love. It was the last of the DC films before James Gunn takes over, and I'm excited. Like I'm going to watch the James Gunn one. I'm excited for it, but I do feel like it's going to be a very left-hand turn from what we're used to from DC. But I felt like it was phoned in. Like they knew it was ending. They didn't care. There was so much stuff that I'm like they did just enough to make it a movie that passed. Yeah. But I kind of felt like it was a bit like, nah.
One thing that it's funny enough, this is one comment that Elle said the other night about when we watched at the end of the movie and we discussed a few things, is she said, because I said, oh, what did you think of it? She went, honestly, there was much too underwater hair waving on Jason Momoa for my liking, which is...
I noticed that when he's sitting in the council and there's nothing moving and all of a sudden his hair's... Like, I understand that it might float a bit or you might get strands, but it looked like there was a current coming from here at about 7 knots that was just blowing his hair like here. And I don't know if they did that to try to hide Amber Heard's face or what it was.
I don't know what it was. But then again, when I thought back on it, from when she said the comment, I was like, actually, there was a lot of underwater hair moving for no particular... I mean, honestly, I just feel like, don't get me wrong, I understood, we need to show they're underwater.
Yeah.
Get that. Completely understand. Do we have to have every single strand of hair shifting at the same time? Could you not just have, just a little bit of movement?
A little bit of floating or something, like...
Not like a Medusa is suddenly taking over the character. It was a bit
bizarre, I won't lie.
It was a bit bizarre thinking on it, but I do kind of get it and understand what they were trying to do, which is to indicate we're now underwater. Oh yes, because it's obvious given the fact that there's a sea turtle that's just gone by that is not obvious that we're not underwater.
That's the other thing where I'm like, you do know that, we can see you're under sea. Like, we've got the alien one who has their gills moving, so we can see we're underwater.
Yeah, there is that. It was some of the things were a very hit and miss in this movie, but overall, I mean, if I was to go on a score out of 10, I would say a 4.
Oh wow,
I'd say a 4 out of 10. Yeah, listen.
I thought I was bad because I was going to say 6, and I was like, it wasn't quite.
No, I always judge a movie based on if I've gone to the if I've watched it at home. Do I feel like I've missed out on not watching it on the big screen? Because obviously, general rule of thumb is watching it on the big screen would have been immense. Okay.
Nah, I feel like if I had to watch this on the
save my money.
If I had to watch this on the big screen, I would have been disappointed with wasting like $60. Because I don't know how much of the movie is in America or stuff, but here it's about 25 to 27 depending on the movie. And then there's things like, you can go to see it in Extreme Screen, which is like an extra $3. So for two of you to go, it's almost $60 to go to the movies. And I'm like, if I had seen this at the movies, this would have got a 1. Like, I'd have been so pissed. But the fact that I watched it at home, I kind of wasn't as hard on it. There were elements in it that I liked. I do think that literally, like, the reason why the side characters shone as much as they did was because the main character was lacking. Like, I feel like it wasn't the same. It didn't feel like the same Aquaman that we got originally.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I think the reason why that my favorite character of this goddamn movie was the visual effects
squid.
Octopus.
Octopus, yeah.
the visual effect octopus stole the show, which, no offense, should never have happened.
No.
It should have been, little light comedy relief. Thank you, Topo. Fabulous. The fact is that he made the goddamn movie. It was the only bit that I enjoyed is when Topo was there. And I'm like, great.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, the rest of the movie was very nah. It was the same tropes that we've seen time, which I get. Don't get me wrong, and we've already bitched about how Hollywood can't make a decent movie anymore. Yeah. I understand there's the trope, and this trope was the buddy cop movie. Get that,
which is what it felt like, and it did. It felt like it was more a buddy cop thing. It didn't, and even then though, like you kind of went, Aurum was probably better than Aquaman in this, which is kind of bad to say because I still think he's a very one-dimensional character.
Very much so.
And for him to be better than Aquaman in the title role, you're like, eh. And
also, can we just say this movie makes Aquaman look like a massive alcoholic, given the quantity of Guinness that he is drinking.
100%. Good on him though for drinking that much. Like,
oh man, I literally when he was chugging away in that can. The worst bit was when he was chugging it out of the can. Okay, I'm a Irish descendant, and that just felt wrong to watch.
When he cracked it and he took a mouthful, I'm like, why? Yeah. Just chuck it in a glass, mate. That's what it's there for. Like, I wouldn't put it out of a bloody thing like that. That just feels weird.
At least when you saw it later on, you saw Dad's poured him one in a glass. I was like, oh, thank God.
Thanks,
we have some
Dad.
civility. Thank God, Boba Fett knows how to drink it. Thank God for that.
That's exactly it. And I was like, God damn it. But yeah, it did seem very bizarre with certain elements like that where you're like, huh?
Yeah, honestly, as I said, the one thing is that we finished watching it and me and Elle both agreed, which is is that we were very glad we didn't spend money going to the cinema to watch it because that would have been a waste of money.
Yeah, I would. That's what I said. Had I seen it at the cinemas, I would have been dark as hell.
Yeah. But I did enjoy bits of it. Although I'll tell you one thing, their jump scares, they need to... James Gunn needs to work on them because they are so predictable. I understand they've got to be slightly predictable, don't get me wrong. But in comparison, when I watched Doctor Strange 2, the jump scares in that were done perfectly because they took
Sam
you
Raimi?
off guard by about half a second.
It's Sam Raimi. The man is a legend at horror and jump scares.
He knows his onions, all right, and that's what I like. I like to be caught off guard. Don't get me wrong. I understand we need the build up. I understand that.
Yeah.
The fact is that if you could just take me off guard, you immediately win me. If you're gonna have jump scares, you immediately win me if you can take me off guard.
100%. Yeah. And I feel like that's the problem is that I don't know. There's just something about this film that I'm like, it was an enjoyable watch if you're sitting at home and you decide to chuck it on. That's why I gave it about a 5 or a 6 because I'm like, I don't feel like I've wasted my time, which is what for me would be a 4 would be, but I also would be like, it's not something I'm going to rewatch. Like I'm glad I saw it. It was kind of a film that wasn't completely horrific, but I'm like, eh. And I think that's the problem.
It's definitely in terms of, I was like, it didn't hit the mark for me, this one. So that's the reason why I've given it a 4. So between my 4 and your 6, this averages at a 5 for the channel.
Which I'm not disappointed with. I felt like, I'm not disappointed that I saw it. I didn't feel like I completely wasted my time. It probably would have got a 4 had I wasted $60 at seeing it at the cinema, which I almost did. And I'm kind of thankful that, I can't remember what happened. There was something came up or there was something that I had to do and we weren't going to get to the movie on time or we just said, let's just wait. It'll come out soon enough. And I'm like, whatever that thing was, whether it was somebody like just asking me to help them move or half the country exploding, I'm glad that happened because if I'd have seen into the movie, I would have been so dark on it.
Yeah, no, I'm about to say, I think in terms of, it's going to be interesting to see because I think from now the next DC movie is James Gunn, isn't it? I believe
from memory, yes.
Yes. So I am going to be very interested to see what he does.
Yeah.
Whether it's saved, I mean, even though we had this conversation for Shazam, and now we've had this conversation for this, does it save the DCEU? Which obviously it's not, because obviously I believe he's doing a hard reset. He's not having a continuation. So realistically, none of the movies could save the DCEU.
Because was his first one technically Blue Beetle, or that one was already too far gone? They didn't see that.
I have not watched Blue Beetle.
Neither have I.
But I'll be honest, so far from what I've seen, it doesn't inspire confidence. So I don't know whether Blue Beetle counts or not.
I don't think it was his, but I think that was the one that had already been planned and it had already started filming, so it was just easy to release it. But I do think you're going to find that budgets are going to be really low on these new films, and they're going to try to build up into it. So they're hoping that what happened is some of these lesser-known characters will get the DC rolling before you start seeing your Supermans and that. Like, I know he does have like a Superman or Supergirl one coming out, and they've supposedly got a new Superman, and I'm just like, cool, but I have a feeling it's just going to be a throwaway character that's just going to be there to build up, where we're going to have this person in here to help. But yeah, it does feel a bit like...
It does. I feel like James Gunn's got a lot to work. He's right, don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of characters you can choose from to get, and there's plenty of really good big bads as well that haven't been explored. So, I mean, you can skip Doomsday, you can skip, those are like, everybody will expect to see them. But the fact is, he can gloss over them quite easily, and he can find some nice big bads, and he can have a storyline developing towards it, which will be good as well.
Yeah.
But I am very interested to see his first version, because I know that Sony has said that we will be hands off. We'll believe it when we see it. Yeah. But anyway,
Like, I don't know. Like, I'm hoping that, because don't get me wrong. Like, at the end of the day, yes, I do think that the the comic book genre has been like overdone. When you've got Marvel and DC both going at it, it's kind of like, holy shit. Like, there has been a lot. And don't get me wrong, as a comic book fan, I'm like, for the first little bit I enjoyed it, but since Endgames, I found it very hard when you've got TV series, you've got movies, you've got these things where I'm like... And what's weird, though, is I love... Hawkeye is still one of my favourite characters. I love Hawkeye. Still haven't watched the series. The film that I really liked, and the only one that I think I really like, and I'm looking forward to it to continue, is The Ten Rings. I think Shang-Chi and The Ten Rings was golden.
As I said, the Hawkeye TV series could have been a movie. Even just on Disney Plus. Like, it doesn't have to be a major. It should have just been, here's a Christmas, because it's all essentially around Christmas. Yeah. So here's a Marvel Christmas movie, and they release it as a one thing, right? Because essentially it was just annoying out of the way. Because obviously it felt like it was shot as a movie, and it was like, cut.
Yeah, because I remember you saying that about it.
So that was the only thing. But I actually enjoyed the Hawkeye series sort of thing. Now that you've got the option to binge watch the entire thing, whereas me and Elle were watching it week by week, and we're like, oh, for God's sakes.
And that's the thing. And I feel like there has been this oversaturation. Like, part of me feels like they shouldn't have maybe made TV series, or they should have done, as you said, made Disney Plus or whatever it was, Marvel TV or whatever it is, make specific movies for that. Because the good thing about that too, though, is it pulls people over to watch said movie.
Yes, which would be fun. Yeah, the problem is certain. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Loki TV series was good. That was nice as a TV series. But like the She-Hulk one, I mean, the fact is that I saw the other day that they're not getting renewed for season 2, and they believe it's maybe because they blew their budget, which isn't shocking given the fact that they spent, I think it was like $325 million on the budget for like 8 episodes. Yeah, it was ridiculous. And the fact is that they kept pulling all these big cameos in for things, and it's like, oh, no wonder you wasted your budget, sort of thing. You could have done it in a lot better ways.
But I think they were trying to do that to push the whole Marvel TV series unit.
I understand what they were trying to do, but I think they could have done it a hell of a lot easier and better. Anyway, I've just realised what the time is on the thing, so we're going to wrap it up right there, ladies and gentlemen. So obviously we are going to give it an average between us is going to be a solid 5.
So I got 5 stars. out of 10.
It's 2.5 out of 5. But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, please tell us what you thought if you've seen it, sort of thing, or if you are going to see it. Please look out for Topo. He's the best character.
Also, if you haven't seen it, there's going to be some spoilers in the stuff you've just listened to.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter.
I was going to say maybe. Oops.
I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah.
We could put the spoiler warning at somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll have to edit in warning spoilers for the upcoming movie of Aquaman.
Oops. How bad?
Anyway, I want to say much love, much thank you. Please remember to like, share, subscribe. We are available on all good podcast forums, and you can see our faces on our YouTube channel and on Spotify at Dorks Down Under. Thank you very much for joining us. And I just want to say one last thing to Dez, which is you better get going Pokemon Go because you've got some chances to catch. I've just sent you the ticket.
Wait, what? To catch what?